Here's my part 3 to funny things that have happened since running away and being homeless. So, another story from the North Carolina, emergency shelter when it was snowing. One of the bitter 40-year-olds was cursing out one of the staff, and she was like, "F you, Miss Marquita." And I think I was woken up in like the middle of the night during this whole situation because, like I said, they would call the police and somebody would go to jail like every other night, and people would wake up to somebody going to jail. So, anyway, the staff called the police, and then the lady was like, "Really? You're calling the police on me just because I said F you?" So this one is more recent. I was going to this youth resource center for the first time, and there was this one other girl with me, and she had came from down south, so like further down in Cali, kind of like where I was before I came where I currently am. Well, no, she was a little above me, or was it? No, because I think it's Imperial Valley, then it's San Diego, like to the left. Anyway, I was going off somewhere else. So when we got there, this one staff member introduced herself, and she was like, "My name is Wonderful." And see, the thing is, I was gonna not laugh, and I was keeping a straight face. But then the other girl, she looked back at me and started like trying to hold in the laugh. And it's like when you're trying not to laugh, and somebody else looks at you and starts laughing, then it's hard not to. So there was it. And then here's two that I thought I wrote down, but apparently I didn't. I don't know why I keep forgetting to write it down. So, as I've mentioned throughout the years of these embarrassing channels, people commonly can't tell whether I'm a boy or a girl or whether I'm 11 or not. So, anywho, two situations where someone couldn't tell if I was a boy or a girl, but they were trying to be nice. And so for this first one, I was just trying to accept the compliment. And so this one dude, he had seen me, and I was walking down the sidewalk, and this was when I was still in Cali. And he was like, "I can tell you're going to be a fine young man one day, and you have a bright future ahead of you." And I was just like, well, I'm just going to take the compliment. And then there was this other one where this one dude was like, "Here, have $1, little boy or little girl or whatever you are." And I was like, "I'm a girl." And then he was like, "Well, don't be offended because it's hard to really tell when you're still young." I don't even know what to say about that. And so next from the list, when I was in Manhattan, this African dude had reported me for quote-unquote sleeping in CVS. And so pretty much what happened was that I was on one knee and I was getting my wallet out of my bag, and then I was doing that, and somehow that was sleeping. And really what it is that the Hamites are already really racist. They come over here from Africa and other places, and they label themselves off as white on the census. And there's a lot of stuff behind that. But anyway, they're really racist, and they're also mad because they were brought over to the U.S. or told they could come over, paid to come over, just like a lot of other immigrants from different places. And they were fed this lie about how things were going to be. And then they come over here and they're having to work their life away just to like get by. And then they're mad. And then they want somebody that they can throw their anger on. And then there's also like another racial side to it, which goes along with like how the immigrants are told to stay away from quote-unquote black people and not to listen to anything we say, and that we just complain and we're lazy and all that. And so then that makes him feel another type of way. And pretty much, like, they put their anger out onto quote-unquote black people, the Africans, and even a lot of the other immigrants, really. But yeah, so he reported me for quote-unquote sleeping. Don't know how that was. There's just a lot I can say about that. And the security guard came to talk to me about me quote-unquote sleeping. Oh, I forgot all about this. This is when I was still in Cali. So I snuck into a movie theater. Well, am I incriminating myself? I snuck into the movie theater. And also, if you can like find one that's empty, you can actually get a really good nap in there depending on how long the staff don't notice. But yeah, so I was in there and there was like a lot of old people, like elderly people in there. And I didn't know what they were watching, of course, because that's usually how it goes when you sneak in. And so I sat in there for a couple minutes, and then I had to like figure out how I was going to get out of there, because it was like some midget pornography movie about some midget dude who was lonely and desperate, and it was not good. And I was like, no. And yeah. And it makes me think about like somebody just sitting at the house and being like, I wonder where grandma went. And then I don't even know if this is necessarily funny, but when I was in Cali, I was making this depression joke, and I was like, I'm leaving, guys. And then someone was like, where are you going? And then I said, I'm going up. And then, well, I wouldn't be going up anyway if I did kill myself. But I guess nobody got the joke, because this one girl was like, she was like, you don't want to go up into the mountains, there's serial killers up there. And then another story from the North Carolina shelter was when one of the old bitter 40-year-olds was talking about how she had Googled this one lady who had recently started staying at the shelter. And she was like, she needs to take herself to go get a slow check and a retarded check and a crazy check. Honestly, that really wasn't funny, but it did make me think about the multiple reasons why I never tell anybody my real name. And I always go by fake age 2, which says that I'm like 20, 21, something like that. Well, honestly, I usually try to just say that I'm like 25. But, of course, depending on where I am, it's harder because, like I said, white people especially don't believe I'm older than, like, 11 or 13. Oh, yeah, something that I completely forgot about. When I was in Manhattan, I got to hear the stereotypical, hey, I'm walking here. There were so many people around, I don't know who said it, but the dude had the stereotypical accent and everything. And then some fun facts. Or at least I guess these are fun. I don't know. The Pogo Nips Forest in Santa Cruz, California is where the Lost Boys house or movie was filmed. So the house is still there. I've never watched the movie though. But it's abandoned and you can't go in and it's like boarded up and stuff. But it's a red building. Kind of like near the entrance of the Pogo Nips. Which I know that's a weird name. It sounds like some type of STD. But anyway. Watsonville, California, which is near Santa Cruz, is where the movie Killer Clowns from Outer Space was made. Which, of course, that's very occultic. But I'm not going to go into that because I'm going to be on an info dump rant. The Timberland Lodge apparently is where the Shining Hotel movie was made. And that's in Oregon, in Mount Hood, which is near Portland. Or maybe that is in Portland. I can't really remember. And I've never watched that movie either, I don't think, but I do remember like how Chucky had made a reference to it. I've seen a couple clips and I don't see how the Timberland Lodge looks like the Shining Hotel, but I probably haven't watched enough of it. And I actually went there on accident. Like, I went to Mount Hood thinking I was going to find a camp spot, but it was a ski resort. Astoria, Oregon, at least I think that's what it's called, is where the Goonies was made, and the Goonies house is still there, and this is on the coast of Oregon. Okay, actually I forgot something again. So, I keep mentioning this in the description of the part 1 and the part 2, but I never remember to actually talk about it. So, when I was in Manhattan, I gave this dude a slice of pizza, this other homeless dude, and he used it to wipe his butt, and then he still ate it. And honestly, I really get the symbology behind all of that. Pretty much, he's saying that due to all the things that have happened to him throughout the years, he no longer really cares. And that is a sign of carelessness and just letting life take its course pretty much. And I know people are going to think that I'm joking, but I'm being serious. There's a lot of symbology behind that, and I totally get it. I even remember having someone tell me that I shouldn't give other homeless people money because they don't care, but the thing is I don't either, and that's the point of giving them money, when I have some actually, every once in a while. And then another thing, just keep this in mind, especially if you're a homeless kid. Anytime somebody tells you that they want you to go to the store with them and that they have food stamps, just know that their real goal is to lure you somewhere for them to start stealing and put you at risk. Or for them to manipulate you into stealing for them and to try to convince you, quote unquote, you're going to get less time because you're younger. None of that is true. You definitely shouldn't do that if you're supposed to be laying low. And as I've drawn attention to a lot throughout the years, lawyers and judges are chomos and Freemason Luciferians and all those things, and they hate youth, which is why youth will get life sentences for things that quote-unquote grown people wouldn't even get charged for. So, you're not going to get less time, and just avoid those people. Don't let somebody tell you they have food stamps or tell you they have money, and then they take you to the grocery store, and then they're like, okay, you hide over there, and then you're like, wait a minute, what's happening?